One of the things we love to talk about here on CoastLife are the movies, and we just got done with the Ocean City Film Festival. One of the winners of that film festival was right here on the set with us today. It is Marlon Wallace. He was the director of a film about the Henry Hotel. Paul Williams, our own meteorologist, he was part of that movie as well. But let's start, Marlon, with you. This was a documentary. You got it in a local film festival. Take us kind of through the process of how you build this movie, how you then get it into a festival. What was that like?
Well, yeah, so actually I'm a little bit lucky because I have been a volunteer for the Ocean City Film Festival for the past few years. So I've actually been working with the film festival as a juror to help select and curate the films that will play in the film festival. And like the week before Thanksgiving, the film festival committee had a meeting where they said that they were going to invite local filmmakers to make films about the history of Ocean City, because this year marks the 150th anniversary of the town becoming a town.
Right, big deal, big number.
Yeah, so they wanted something to celebrate that, and they wanted to use the film festival as a way to celebrate that anniversary. So they sent out a call to local filmmakers to try to do something about the history of Ocean City and for the celebration. And I happen to be one of the filmmakers that they reached out to. And when
but let's not undersell it. You weren't just reached out to. You ended up winning a big award. So tell the people at home about your movie and what you won.
I mean, you are a pretty big deal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So this past weekend was the actual film festival, and about 10, I believe, films were submitted to what they call the Ocean City Historical Film Challenge. And they announced the winners on Sunday, and they announced the top 3. So they announced the number 3, the number 2, and I was happy for all of those other winners. But when they announced my name, obviously I went a little bit crazy, a little bit excited to hear that I ranked number 1, and our film was the winner of the Best Film Prize of that competition. And
well, hold on. With that in mind, I know it's not quite the Oscars, but for the 2 men on the couch here, for you and for Paul's role in that movie as well, I'll call him a supporting role.
Excellent. Thank you.
I like the facial look. So we wanted to give you guys a little bit of love. Let's talk about your movie specifically.
All the meteorologists before me.
Yes.
Let's talk about your movie specifically, and then how Paul ended up a part of it as well. But first, the Henry Hotel. Why does it matter? Why did you want to do something about this hotel?
Yeah, so the Henry Hotel is a boarding house. It started out as a boarding house for African Americans in Ocean City who did not have anywhere else to stay. So prior to 1964, the town of Ocean City was segregated. And if you were black, you could not be in certain parts of Ocean City. You couldn't really stay at any of the hotels that were there at the time. So there was a man who is from Berlin. His name was Charles T. Henry. He decided that he needed to do something about it. So he bought a plot of land where it's now on Division Street in Ocean City to be a place, to be a refuge or a shelter basically for African American, specifically the African American workers. Yeah. Because even though,
the regular folks.
Even though the town was segregated, and you couldn't, as a black person, couldn't stay at the hotels, but you could still work there and you could still be employed there. And for a lot of those people, the commute in and out was a little bit difficult. So the Henry Hotel was established as a place for them to stay overnight if they were workers there in the town.
So Paul, where do you come into this? How do you end up helping out with this film, and what was you had to add?
Well, Charlie's going to really love this part because I pick with Charlie in my other job all the time. I played the cranky old guy.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. So I was in character, right? Yeah. I played the cranky old guy that knew about the Henry Hotel, and I was trying to teach this younger fella, who was a filmmaker, why he should use this hotel as the focus of his project. And so it was a project about the hotel, about a filmmaker focusing on a project for the hotel, which is the genius of Marlon.
That's how it's going. But no, I loved working with Paul. I mean, I think it was really great. I mean, when I first told him about the project and I sent him the script, we had a little bit of a reading of it online, and his reading of it was just, he blew everyone away. Basically, he had everyone laughing, he had everyone cracking up. He's so funny, so charming, and I just knew that I made the right choice. Hiring him as my.
Well, not that I want to give Paul too many compliments, but he has a great amount of talent, so I'm not surprised that worked out. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk more about this movie, and we have another special part to add in as well. Don't go anywhere. CoastLife returns right after this. If you've been with us here on CoastLife, you've already been a part of the conversation we were having with Marlon Wallace and Paul Williams about the Henry Hotel documentary. But we got more we got to discuss, because I want to know how specifically you got drawn to that story. I'm sure there was a lot of things you could have done this documentary on. What was it that inspired you to follow this specific thread?
Well, just working as a filmmaker now in Ocean City, because I started making films in Ocean City back in 2021, and I've been regularly making films there over the past few years. And I've always heard stories about the Henry Hotel, but I never really dug into it. It was just one of those places that you kind of just pass by on your way to Trimpers or on your way to the inlet that you don't really notice. So when this opportunity came up to do something about the history of Ocean City, I knew that the Henry Hotel was a story that I had to tell, because as an African American myself, it's important for me to tell stories about African American history. And this is one of those pieces of overlooked African American history that I think needed to be, made people aware of. So I was very much, passionate about telling the story once the opportunity became available.
And Paul, you jump in here on this. How did you, after you were approached to be a part of this, how did you connect to the story? How did you feel being a part of it?
So you have to understand my background. I went to school at a historically black college university, Jackson State University. And so a lot of my formal education, as far as my degree and master's degree and all those things, fall right into the idea of the recognition of African American history, something that's typically lost, and in some cases it fought against to be recognized even today. And so this was a way to fight back with intellectual property, in the sense of this is something worth recognizing, this is something for acknowledging, and this isn't a taking away from anybody else's history, whether they're Celtic or Irish or anything. But see, it takes all flavors of a pot to make it taste good. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so all we wanted to do, we wanted to sprinkle the paprika of the Henry Hotel in the midst of this gumbo that we call America, specifically the bowl that's called, Ocean City.
And this is why bringing Paul in helps, because he's going to give you the paprika in the bowl of community.
It's always about food, Charlie.
Okay, so we're going to move on in just a second, but before we do, how can somebody see this film if they now want to? Where can they find it? Is there a way to do that yet?
Yes, actually, the guy who shot and edited the film has now posted the film online to his YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and search Mason Dixon Media, you'll be able to see the Henry Hotel is now streaming on his YouTube page.
That is fantastic. I hope everybody goes out there and gets a chance to look at this story. It's very important, and it really does expand a little bit of a specific part of cultural history. But it's not the only connection you guys have now, because coming up this weekend, funny man extraordinaire Paul Williams is going to be doing a little comedy special, and you're going to be playing a role. Paul, what's happening?
Bottom line is, just to be honest about it, it's the truth in advertisement. Marlon is an extremely nice and talented person, and he's really gullible to being his arm twisted. So I armbarred him into filming my special this weekend. I've been making it my business to talk about prostate cancer. The whole prostate cancer guy. Here, take a shot of my shirt. Okay, but anyway, so I decided to use humor to teach men about prostate cancer awareness, because humor is sort of the best thing I've learned when you're dealing with a touchy subject. Put humor on it and it makes it a little more palatable.
Well, before we go too far though, again, because I know a lot of people know this, but we have new viewers all the time, your connection to prostate cancer.
I am a prostate cancer survivor. I received radiation treatments, and I had an extremely aggressive form of prostate cancer, which meant, and I found out by accident, because I was at a heart doctor who decided to just give me a battery of tests. You know, I mean, just checking the oil like a regular old, like an old Edsel. You know, that's what I am. You know, I was, you know, he's like, well, let's go check under the roof. You know,
let's see what's going on everywhere.
Under the hood, right? And so out of a random battery of tests, my heart doctor discovered, and he had me take a PSA test, which is a prostate specific antigen test, which every man should take. A PSA test. That way you'll avoid the Dr. Dre digital rectal exam. So anyway, it's about prostate cancer awareness, and so we want to use this to be a platform to spring into different things we're doing for the year, including eventually a prostate cancer walk in September.
And it makes the conversation easier to have when you have comedy around it. Paul, for anybody that might want to see this, where is this stand-up thing happening?
Okay.
What's going on so we can get you some crowds?
Okay, it's in connection with Vedra Hobbit, which are advocates of plant-based eating, which is one thing that I'm very much a part of and believe in and practice. It's going to be at the Lewis Library this Sunday, starting at 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. It's a brunch. So I'm going to be the entertainment for the brunch. And then I'm bringing in this crazy zany guy, which I hope we can keep a muzzle on to some degree. Derek Fox is going to be my warm-up guy. He's nuts. Now, I need you to understand something. If I'm calling somebody nuts.
Yeah, that's setting the stage. Setting the expectation.
Look, I got to reel him in. Yeah, he's nuts. But I like him, you know, because I tend to attract eccentric people.
You don't say.
I don't know why, but that's what's going on. But it's an opportunity because also at Vedra Hobbit they're going to be teaching about plant-based eating, how to have better health choices, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really a conglomerate of things together because they're going to actually have experts where you can do questions back and forth. But we're going to be a part of the entertainment part, you know, and so I'm going to be diving in deeply into what's happening with prostate cancer and how better eating can help you avoid it in the first place, which is best, and deal with the treatments afterwards. Because one thing that might not be so funny, man, after you get treated for prostate cancer, that's when the real work happens in getting your body back.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. We appreciate it. It's really great. I'm glad we could give you a couple awards here.
Coasties.
Hold those up for the camera at home.
Yes, our Coasties.
They really love us.
We got the filmmaker and the comic. We are going to take a break here on Coast Life, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about another Ocean City event, a big job fair. Don't go anywhere.